Brews and Views, a podcast where we review movies, give our opinion on what's going on in the world, all while drinking good beer. Crack open a good brew and open your minds for Brews and Views.
Say hey, everybody out there in the internet land. This is Juan Cordero, the Juan and Only, coming at you with another podcast for February 12th, 2021. And I think I'll be looking for a W-2 from Walmart next year because they got me bagging up my own damn groceries now. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Oh man, here we go. We might have to do this podcast in the damn dark. Hold on. Let me see if
some mood lighting.
Yeah, right? Maybe I'll throw one of these over there. Huh? See if that works. Well, I guess we're this is where we're at right now. For the folks out there listening to this, if you're listening on Spotify or whatever, the lights went out again. Like just with the Pull Up and Pour Up podcast, the lights went out once again. But anyway, we have a packed show this afternoon, evening. If you're in your bubble bath or you're taking a shit, whatever you're doing, we have some beer. We possibly might laugh, chat about some films, pictures, cinema, popcorn, and yes, we're going to be talking about movies. And joining me on the podcast this afternoon, evening, good night, or whatever you're listening to this podcast, I have with me none other than Jake Baker. How's it going, man?
It is going, technically. I'm really excited to be on the show. It's funny. It's interesting because this is the first time we've ever met, and we're just going to do a show, I guess. So.
Right. That's awesome, man. So for the folks out there that don't know about you, I don't know if you want to get into like where you work at or whatever, or if we can just get into like your passions. And the reason why I have you on is because of movies. So
sure.
How about we start there? When did you say when you were a little lad and said, "Fuck, man, I love movies"?
Well, that's kind of the problem with me. The thing is, I've liked movies my whole life, obviously, but when I was a kid, I just was one of those kids that watched like the same stuff over and over again. Like, oh, Dumb and Dumber. I love Dumb and Dumber. And I'm just going to watch Dumb and Dumber on repeat. Like there was like certain movies when I was young that, we had maybe you remember this, like we had a friend with a not so legal hookup when it came to DirecTV.
Yes.
And I would tape shit. Like, can I say shit?
Yeah, man, you can say whatever the hell you want.
Cool. Fuck. But I would tape stuff off of the movie channels because we got them for free. And, you know, there's like particular movies like Malibu's Most Wanted that I taped and I just have memorized and stuff like that. But the problem is, like, I never really took film super seriously until relatively late in my own life, I guess, specifically. Like when I was in college, I was like, oh, there's a screenwriting class. Oh, yeah, I guess people do write movies. And I'm like, 21 at the time. Like I should have know this stuff already. There's people that start being filmmakers when they're like 12. And I was a little late to the party. But, I think from around like late college, I started to take film a little more seriously. And now I'm one of those, like, I would never consider myself a snob, but, I definitely am like way more plugged into like the stuff that's not more mainstream. Whereas like even just less than 10 years ago, I would have probably not been able to tell you like who Charlie Kaufman was.
Right.
So I don't know. That's kind of where I am at as a fan. And it does like coincide with the fact that I'm trying to become a filmmaker as well, which also started in college. Again, unfortunately, kind of late. Like, like it's tough because like we're in Indiana, obviously, and there's like colleges pretty nearby, like Huntington, that have like full-fledged film programs. But I didn't even know that was like a thing until I was already like halfway through like college. So it's like I don't. I kind of wish I had maybe known ahead of time. I could have like made some changes, but I'm at where I'm at. I'm doing the best I can in Fort Wayne.
Sure, man. Like you kind of have a little bit of like a background like me. when I was a kid, I listened to I'm not listened, but watched a lot of Star Wars. If you can't tell, I'm a Star Wars fan.
No, I would never have guessed.
My tattoos are all freaking about Star Wars. But I love Star Wars. When I was a kid, I started watching Star Wars, and I was just mesmerized by what was going on in Star Wars. So I would watch those on repeat. And then I would watch like a lot of things that were going on in the 80s. And then when I got older, to actually watch some of these movies like Scarface and all these other movies that were out when I was younger and really couldn't watch them, started watching them like, man, okay, where can I find more movies like that? Mm-hmm. And that's where the love for movies for me came from. So we would kind of have some similarities.
When you say you're a Star Wars fan, are you saying like, did you watch them like when they first came out, like in theaters, or you came to them a little bit after the fact, or?
So you asked me earlier how old I am. I was born in 1978.
Okay, so obviously not the first one, unless your mom had you in her stomach and was like, "We're gonna watch Star Wars. I know you're gonna love it."
Right. So when I was old enough, probably around in the 80s, is when my brother introduced Star Wars to me. And then started watching them from there. But yeah, when the new ones came out in the early 2000s, I watched those in the movie theaters. Then when they came out with episode 1 in 3D, I went and watched that. And I fell asleep watching that movie because that's something I do. So if any of my friends are listening, I fall asleep anywhere. I fall asleep at Taco Bell. I fall asleep in movies. I fall asleep in the back of people's cars. I fall asleep anywhere. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I just don't get enough to eat, I guess. And then I just party all day. And then when it times to crash, I just crash. But yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan, and I've loved Star Wars since I was a kid. Since I was a kid, had all the toys and everything. So yeah, I'm a Star Wars nut, man. Like I got the Mandalorian hat, I got the shirt, I got the tattoos, man. I got the socks.
So I take it you weren't like when you went and saw the prequels. Did you like them, or were you like a lot of people that were kind of disappointed?
So at first, that's a good question, because at first I was like, man, okay, Star Wars, we got it. I really loved episode 1, and I felt like episode 1 could have been something more than what it was. Uh-huh. And they killed off Darth Maul way too early. They should have had him be like the apprentice through the whole thing, but I guess there was more, for him on the table. For like, if you watch Clone Wars, if you watched any of the Clone Wars, like the animated series, then you look back and you're like, oh, okay. Now I have a little bit more appreciation for episodes 1, 2, and 3 after watching the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars is basically what's going on in 1, 2, and 3. It's the whole like the demise of the fucking Senate and this and that. They're trying to, it's everything. So if you watch all of the Clone Wars, they're basically telling you all the story of what's going on. And my watch is trying to repeat everything that I'm saying right now.
Everything's too smart these days.
Right, I know, man. Like NSA is probably listening to me now after my Apple Watch.
Like, this dude likes episode 1. All right, get him, boys.
I get him. Right, I'm gonna go on my phone later on after we're done with this podcast, and I'm gonna scroll on Facebook or on Google, and it's gonna be like Star Wars stuff.
Oh yeah, I walked.
Like episode 1.
I walked in on my family watching The Masked Dancer. I just walked in, saw 5 minutes of it, and was like, this is awful. And I didn't Google anything about it, didn't talk about it. I'm getting Masked Dancer ads on my phone the next day.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, oh, I guess it was Bill Nye, was the Ice Cube guy. Spoilers, I guess, for The Masked Dancer. But it's just like, that's creepy. That is like legitimately awful. That like, it's not like I Googled it or searched it. I watched 5 minutes of a show, and
they're literally listening to us. They are. They're listening to us. But man, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. I know you had to work, and you drove all the way out here.
I mean, it's like 10 minutes away.
Well,
I like jabbering about movies, so it's not really, it's no skin off my nose or whatever antiquated saying you want to use. I have a bad habit.
Oh, man, here we go again with this light situation. Oh my gosh! I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm gonna
sure.
turn the lights back on by moving around. So, since you asked me, am I a Star Wars fan? What are you a fan of?
That's a good question. I mean, like I said, I'm a little late to like proper films and stuff like that. When I was growing up, I was like a big fantasy novel nerd. Like that was the kind of stuff I read all the time, and it's still kind of a irksome topic for me because I feel like we had Lord of the Rings in the early 2000s, and we've had like nothing good fantasy wise since then, at least cinematically. Like we had Game of Thrones for a second, but that took a huge shit. I've never seen a show crash and burn as spectacularly as that. I talked about it with my friends recently. I think we were even talking about it on my podcast because I went on a whole rant about how they don't make medieval fantasy movies that are any good. Like I'm so starved for it. I was like, I actually kind of like the Warcraft movie a little bit. Like, cause like, even though it's like a CGI abomination, at least there's like orcs and magic and shit. Like, I don't know. I just don't get to see that anymore. But I mean, cinematically, I'm kind of backing away from this a little bit these days, but I went through my tearing. It's definitely like huge dream to like actually go to Japan and like visit and like maybe not live there, but I'd love to go there. So that's a big one for me. I don't know. It's just like, it kind of like comes and goes. I'm very like, I fluctuate pretty wildly between like I'll be really into one thing for a while, and then I'll like latch on to something else for a while. Like I go through like different spurts, or like I'll be watching anime like nonstop for like 2 months, and then I just won't watch like anything for like 5 months, and I'll be like, why do I still have a Crunchyroll subscription? And I'll be like, what's even on here? Oh shit, I could watch that maybe. Like I'm kind of going back into it right now because like I've been watching like Gurren Lagann and Jujutsu Kaisen. These words might mean nothing to you, but there's like the new season just started, the winter season as they call it, and there's like legitimately a bunch of good shows that look really interesting. And I'm like, I guess I should watch this, but I could also watch this. And I'm just like, there's so many fucking shows. Right. There's so many shows. I got HBO Max and I watched Euphoria after wanting to watch it for like a year, and it was fucking great. I saw you posted today about Malcolm and Marie, and I was like, kind of like, I'm curious to watch it for myself because the director of that is the guy who wrote and directed Euphoria, like all of it, Sam Levinson, and I think that's his name. And I'm excited for that after watching Euphoria because I really liked Euphoria, and it's the same director and Zendaya, and like interested. Like no spoilers or anything. I'm probably gonna watch it literally this weekend, but maybe, I don't know. The Super Bowl's this weekend, so not to date the show, but.
So there's a couple things that you said that I want to kind of touch on. First, what's your YouTube page called?
It's just my name, Jake Ryan Baker. It used to be Jake Baker, and then I realized you could never find me. So I put Jake Ryan Baker.
Because there's like 1,000 Jake Bakers out there?
Yeah.
Or 1 million?
Jake Ryan, like the guy from 16 Candles, Baker. Actually, I found that if you type in Jake Ryan Baker, even though I think I have 34 subscribers, woohoo, I still do pop up, so that's kind of nice. I don't know. I put most of my short films up on that channel, and I have like a couple videos where I did like movies from the 2019s, and then I just recently did a video on my favorite films from the entire decade of the 2010s. I apparently have like some sort of fascination with doing lists, so I just like doing lists. I just did. What's funny though is the video on my channel that has the most views now is I had some time at work, so I made this really stupid Planet of the Apes video about Wall Street bets because all that stuff's been going on with the GameStop stuff, and that is now my most viewed video. Like just because I had Wall Street bets in the title and people were like clearly clicking on it, even though I didn't even post it to the Reddit because I couldn't. Because I don't have enough karma to actually like post a video on there. It's got like the most, even more like I had a short film on there called like Mockingbird that had like 283 views, and I was like, that's pretty decent. And now this stupid Planet of the Apes video has like 350 views. I'm just like, God damn it. Like I was going to delete it, but now I'm like kind of, I don't know, the views are counting towards my stats, I guess. I don't know. It's not really the kind of stuff I want to make. I just did it because I thought it would be funny. Like I don't know, but
that's funny. Like some people who get into like the whole YouTube world or like podcasting and you touch on a subject and all of a sudden you gain all these people who love what you just talked about, and it's something that you really don't normally talk about or do, and then all of a sudden you become like famous for it, and you're like, fuck, now I got to continue doing this.
I spend a lot of my time watching YouTube, and I see the burnout from people where they're like, my fans want me to do this, or like, do you know if I say Team 4-Star, does that mean anything to you?
Negative.
They're a group of people who did Dragon Ball Z Abridged, which is like when they take Dragon Ball Z and re-edit it and put their own voices in to make it like funny. And they got super famous off of it. And like, they don't want to do that stuff anymore. And they have this whole legion of fans they've built up who, anytime they post anything that's not DBZ Abridged crap, the comments are just like, go back and make the videos I want you to make, you fucks. Like, and it's just like, what a terrible box to be painted into. And
right.
Like, I don't know. Like, as far as YouTube goes, like, I have no interest in being some sort of weird prominent YouTuber. Like, I've had to do a lot of thinking recently because I've been spreading myself so thin because I do the YouTube channel stuff and I've been doing photography and I'm a filmmaker and I've been doing my podcast too. And I'm like running out of time to juggle everything. I had to like sit down and be like, what do I need to prioritize? And when I really thought about it, filmmaking is my number one priority and all the rest is ancillary. And so like the YouTube stuff, I need to stop taking it. Like I sweat it because I'm like, God, it's already February and I was going to make a video on the 2020 movies and I still got to watch the pig movie or the first cow and I got to watch the Pieces of a Woman and this and I can make the video. And I'm just like, why are you? There's like 30 people subscribed to your channel. Nobody cares. Why are you stressing yourself out so much? I'm like, I have to like take a step back and remind myself like, you're doing this for fun. You're doing your podcast because you like to talk to people about movies, not because you're like, I gotta get it out on Wednesday because the people they know what drops on Wednesday. It's just like, whoa, dude. Like, I just like have a problem taking a chill pill sometimes. Like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's supposed to be fun, but I'm such like I want everything to be good, and I stress out about that kind of stuff a lot. And it's just like, I'm sure you are that way with your podcast. You're just like, you have these nice mics and this whole setup, and you want things to sound good,
right?
Even though I imagine you started it just to kind of talk shit and have fun, like, but it becomes like a whole beast, like on it of itself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but at the same time, if you see yourself evolving into something like that, it could be either bad, it could be good or bad, you know. But at the same time, that just shows passion. It just shows passion that you're willing to like, man, I got to do it this time. You're not getting paid for it, but the only person who's going to keep you true in the things that you're not getting paid for is you. So if you're the one, amping yourself up, like, hey, I got to have it out this day and this day, and if you keep that up, then the people are like, man, this guy or this gal or whoever is doing whatever, Joe Schmo, on whatever creator is doing something on Facebook or TikTok or whatever, they know that shit's going to come out. And I understand maybe for you it got a little bit of stressful for you. But
I did move my show to bi-weekly, and that helped a lot because like instead of stressing about getting an episode done every week, doing bi-weekly has just been like way more chill. And like, it's just been that was nice. Like, I was like, okay, I can allow myself that. Cause I was like, every podcast I like comes out weekly. So if you want to do a podcast, you got to do it weekly. But almost every podcast I listen to is like produced and has a Patreon, and they have engineers and people that they're editing. They're not doing everything by themselves either.
Right.
Trying to stay on that weekly schedule when you're a one-man band is like, you just can't do it. Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like, a long time ago, I was stressing out about like being a filmmaker and being like, I'm never going to make it. I don't even know like what the point is sometimes, like, and blah, blah, blah. And like, I had a friend just be like, well, you should make movies because you like making movies and it's what you want to do and you like have something to say. And I've always, whenever I start spiraling, I try to remind myself of that as much as I possibly can.
No, absolutely.
It's like, you know, you just, I think most like good art tends to come from people who have something to say or they're doing it because they love it. You know, it's like, you know, you said you like The Mandalorian, and I feel like it's clear that Favreau and them, they have a passion for making that kind of stuff. And I think the fans can feel that, and that's why they're responding to it so much. It's not just, if we put a guy in a space helmet in the desert, that'll make us money. Like, that's not passion. And people, I think people, even if they even if it's subconscious, I think they feel that in a certain way. So I don't know. I try to think about stuff like that, I guess. Yeah.
Right. I mean, because you've already touched on it. Like, if you come up, basically what you're saying in layman's terms is like, you're going to come off fake if you're not doing it, if you don't really have passion for it. And if you're not really doing it, then you just sound fake. You just sound like a tool doing some shit that anybody else can do. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do whatever someone else is doing if they just keep on doing it and rambling about some shit that they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. Just like me. But, you know, I mean, I get what you're saying, man. But, you know, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I do want to get on what you talked about your that you have some short films, and so I really want to ask you what is your favorite one? And I think you said it already, and I think you already answered my question.
Well, that's the one with the most views. I mean, I'd say my favorite one is not technically available anywhere to watch right now because I have it uploaded on Vimeo. And I'm planning on submitting it to festivals. So I haven't made it public yet because like festivals tend to want you to like send them stuff that's not available everywhere. So anybody that's asked to see it, I've sent them the link and been like, yeah, here, you can watch it if you want. And I've been sending it to people because it is the one I'm most proud of. And it's not to slight anything else I've done because I love everybody I've worked with and they're so amazing. But this one's like, I feel like I finally like found a tone that it's like a very like dark comedy type thing. And I hadn't really tried that. And I really liked how it all turned out. And so, yeah, it's literally, I don't mind spoiling it. The premise of it, it's like a serial killer walks in on a girl who's about to kill herself. And they end up having like a really awkward exchange. And so like, I was like, but it's like, it seems like it could be pretty serious, but it's almost like the way I wrote it was like, it almost plays like a bad date that's going wrong or like sex that's going bad almost. There's a lot of like entendres and he's got a knife and it's very phallic and all that stuff. But like, it makes me laugh. I've shown it to a lot of people and they just kind of nod along as they watch it. I'm like, I might just be a psycho and I might be the only person that thinks this is funny, but I mean, fuck it. You got to like do what makes you laugh.
No, but there's got to be some like, I don't know what the word I'm searching for, but you know, a girl about to kill herself, commit suicide, but then a serial killer comes in that just loves to kill people.
Yeah.
Comes in, you know, like I think that there's some irony in that, and there's some funny shit going on in that as well.
Like he walks in and she's got a gun in her mouth, and he's just like he didn't realize what he was walking into. He's just like, what the fuck? And she's like, what the fuck? And she like points the gun at him, but then quickly she's like, this is perfect. I was about to kill myself. You want to kill me? You can just kill me. And then like the joke is like when he's about to kill her, he like can't do it. And he basically is like, I can't do it because you want to die. Like if you want to die, that takes away what it is, what's interesting about this to me. And you kind of like, you've taken away why I want to do it. So you wanting to die means I can't perform now. And it's like a whole like weird thing. Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's pretty silly, but
I get what you're saying. Like it's a bad date. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, and I was lucky because like two of my favorite actors to work with are in it. And it was kind of nice because, that was like just a 2-man crew thing for me. That was me running camera and one of my really close friends running sound. And that was the whole crew. And then after the fact, I have people that do sound and music and stuff like that. But so I never want to forget them. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Burping, but yeah, my buddies Zach and Joey always do the sound and music, and they always just do a great job with all that. And my buddy Andrew let me shoot in his house, which is always pretty cool, because everyone always goes, "What was the budget on that?" or "How'd you make that?" I'm like $0.0. Whatever I paid for the vegetables that I fed people, like that's what that costs. Because everything's always like me begging, like because I'm a poor boy. I work at the library and I love it, but I don't make a lot of money, and so it's like. My dream is to get to the point where I can pay people what they deserve. So it's like, it's borderline. I would hesitate to say humiliating, but people should be paid for their work, and I would like to do that. I'm not at the point where I'm generating any revenue from it, and I'm trying to squirrel away money. And like, I've been thinking about gearing up for a feature, and I think if I do that, I'm going to try really hard to put some money aside to like pay people for that. But that stuff skyrockets so fast. Like once you open that Pandora's box, because it's like, where you paying people per hour and you're doing this minute, and it's like you do one shoot day and you owe people like hundreds of dollars. Right. It's like, you see how movies can get so expensive, you know, you know, when people if people don't really know much about filmmaking, like if you make a movie for $1 million, that's considered like dirt cheap. Yeah. Like, you know, so it's like, you know, I used to work at Sweetwater. I used to have this fantasy that I'd like get in the room with like Chuck, because he's got millions of dollars and shit. I'm like, hey man, I got a pitch for a movie and you're going to fund it. And it's going to be great. Like, cause you know, there's only like so many rich people around town. I was like, maybe. And I know he has like, executive produced films before, cause I saw a film at our local film festival that him and his wife had their name on, actually. Wow. And had an explosion in it, so it clearly had a little bit of money behind it. This is a pretty cool film, though.
That's awesome, man. Just hearing you talk about film, I can definitely tell, especially in filmmaking and writing, I can definitely tell that you have a passion for filmmaking. So I know I'm gonna open up something huge here by asking this question. When making that movie, your favorite movie that you have the you know, the most accolades for and everything whatever, what are two things that you learned from that movie that you are definitely going to take on to the next project and that you can take on in life?
I would say one of the biggest things, and this is like really, it seems really minor, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it does matter a lot. I was really bad at like set dressing movies. Like I was so busy with everything else. I'd be like, I don't have time to fucking throw all these posters up on the wall and like decorate the wall. And I had like short films that I've shot where after the fact, the walls are bare and boring and it just looks bad. Like it just looks like a crappy set. And for this one, I actually put the effort in. I put posters with like personality. I mean, they were ones I already owned, but like, in my head, it made sense for this character to have these kind of things. And like, I even went through the effort of like taping up all this plastic on the wall and the floor because she didn't want to like bloody her, leave a mess. So she had taped down all this plastic and stuff. And I really think it makes that one pop a little bit more. And so it's like, I tend to lose track of the little details, but it is those little details that do add a lot in the grand scheme of things. So that's something I'm trying really hard to remember. Don't worry, I'll totally keep talking. It's something that I've tried to carry with me, like going forward, is like not. It's not even necessarily about being lazy. It's just about like not skimming over things that seem not as important at the time, but in the long run, it's just going to add so much. And I didn't really ever think about that as a life lesson, but I mean, I certainly hope that's something that I'll apply to all aspects of my life, like dotting my I's and crossing my T's and all that good stuff. Like,
because the little things, man.
Yeah.
The little things are the thing I was telling my brother today. Like, I had the Pull Up and Pour Up podcast on a couple of weeks ago, or it was just last Saturday. What was it? Was it that? I don't remember. Shit goes
by. Time is a construct.
Dude, I know, right? So I was just telling him, like, you know, I was looking for a gift. By the way, that I know is maybe like a little smash in the face because you probably, but that cup is for you.
Oh,
the mug is for you. That you're gonna have a Sweetwater mug in your home to remember. I was just trying to like give somebody something that they took their time out of their day, you know,
Hey,
and come in and do something.
I like Sweetwater. I meant to tell you when we were chatting beforehand, the thing that I will always be grateful for is way back in the day, we actually made a feature film, and for various reasons, I'm not sure what's happening with all that, but they let us screen it here in their theater, and we had a whole big ass premiere. They let us do it for free. They donated their engineers' time, and I will always be grateful. I have a rough working history with this place, but they really had my back on that one. And I also bought a guitar from here recently too. And they were great. Like I walked in and was like, God, I really don't want to get talked into like a really expensive guitar because I'm going to crap out on this quickly anyway. And they were like, here's a $150 guitar. It sounds amazing. It's like the best cheap one we've got. And I was like, this sounds great. And you're not trying to upsell me at all. Like, it was a great experience. Like, so I have mixed feelings about it. I definitely wouldn't consider a Sweetwater mug a slap in the face. That's for sure.
But yeah, I was saying, like, just the little things. I was telling my brother, like, you know, if someone, you know, gives their time, because their time it means a lot to them, you know. Like if you have a person who paints or does carpentry or whatever, their time is a lot. So you're paying for their time, you know. Yeah. And I don't really have the money to, you know, to like, here, man, thanks for coming to my podcast, you know. And I'm not really there just yet. I'm no Joe Rogan or I'm no any of that jazz. So I think just little gestures like a gift and, you know, having some beer on, you know, whatever. It's just the little things that make people remember, like, oh, the next time, hey, Jake, where'd you get the Sweetwater?
Yeah, you got me the black one too, which I love. I love everything in black. So.
Right on. I already have the black one, so I got the white one for. I'm gonna give this to somebody at work, maybe. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
Some pod swag.
Yeah, some pod swag.
Do a giveaway.
Right. I'm kind of going to switch gears a little bit. We're still going to talk about like movies and things that are being talked about. But there was one thing that I'm kind of really getting into now, and you kind of started going crazy about Crunchyroll and all this jazz and blah blah Japanese anime and whatever. I
wouldn't say crazy. I mean, come on,
you got a little crazy over here. Last year I got into anime. And the first anime that I watched was Hunter x Hunter. And then after that, I watched Death Note. And then I watched the first episode, and I forgot what it's called. It's about these, takes place in China, and there's like these robots, almost like Ghost in a Shell, but they're like robots. And like a guy in a robot or something, and they're like,
it's in China,
or I don't remember.
I mean, their mecha anime is if you give me a little bit more, I might be able to help you pinpoint it. But if you just say guys and robots, the mecha genre is massive.
It's huge because there's another one too that I'm there's a couple of them.
I mean, is it Gundam or Code Geass or
Code Geass?
Okay.
Oh my gosh! See,
so you're picking all the good ones. Like I don't know where you're getting your recommendations, but everything you've named so far is like pretty top tier stuff.
Oh, right on.
I actually haven't seen Hunter x Hunter, even though people have been saying I would love it. I know I would love it.
Yeah.
But I have seen Code Geass, and I've seen I already forgot the other one you mentioned.
Death Note.
Death Note. Oh, actually, I haven't seen the anime. I read the manga.
Oh.
I've been putting the anime off for like a special, just like I'm going to watch it because I've heard it's amazing.
Yes.
Except for, I know the potato chip scene is a bit of a meme, but
yes, it is.
But yeah, I don't even know how far I don't know if the anime does the whole story or not. Does it get into like spoilers for people won't know what I'm talking about if they don't know Death Note, but do Mello and N show up in the show as well?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Because that I actually had like when I was reading the manga, I was like actually weirdly into Mello as a character. He was like my favorite character. I don't know. He really cracked me up. Like he was just like such a psychopath, and the chocolate thing was like
right.
But Code Geass is great. Code Geass is amazing. The Lelouch stuff, like he's such a great character. Like if you like anti-hero stuff at all, man, he's like king of that genre, at least as far as anime goes. But yeah, Hunter x Hunter, like that's a pretty, isn't it?
That's a long. It's a long. I'm not done yet.
Yeah,
I'm not done yet with it. It's like 168 episodes or something
Yeah,
like
and
that.
the manga's still going. Like, I don't even know what the plan is with the show.
Like, oh my gosh, man! Like, dude, Killia is my guy, man. That's my dude, man. I love that dude. I love that fucking kid, man. But what I was going to ask you is since I've kind of gotten into the anime manga world, and you kind of sound like you know a little bit what's going on, and you said I've picked some really good ones, and you don't know where I got my recommendations from. I just like, man, I read the description and was like, yeah, let's try that one. Okay, cool. Let's try this one. What do you recommend? Something I should watch that is like something in that tier of like, or it doesn't even have to be like a fucking like top tier anime.
I'll tell you a really easy one for me to recommend to anybody. And especially knowing that you like, I mean, it's not Star Wars, but like, do you like Marvel and DC type stuff as well?
Yeah, sure.
Like, My Hero Academia, I think, is great. I think it's the best current shonen show that's running right now. The highs that I feel from that show are so high, and like season 3, Jesus Christ, there's like a fight that happens towards like, I think it's the middle of season 3. It is one of the most, like, if you're invested in the show, it's so fucking epic and like heartbreaking and it's God, it's so good. Like, and people that like My Hero, they'll tell you like My Hero, the characters are so good. It's a show about like, it basically takes place in a world where 90% of people have superpowers. And so there's like schools for people to become superheroes, and it's like varying levels of superpowers too. Like some people are like really strong. Like there's like a kid who has like half ice, half fire powers, but then there's like a dude his neck is stretchy. Like some people they have powers, but it doesn't do shit. Like right. So they don't become heroes usually. But it's just a good show. It's just a good base level. Even if you're not a big anime fan, you probably would like it anyway. And if you talk about the kid from Hunter x Hunter, I don't see how you wouldn't like be super into Midoriya, who's the main character in My Hero. He's just such a good, likable protagonist. Like I'm one of those guys who a lot of times I'll enjoy the show, but especially when it comes to anime, I'll kind of have like a side character who's like my favorite character or whatever. But in My Hero, I do actually. I'm this will mean nothing to you, but I'm a Bakugo guy and I'm a Momo guy. But Deku is a great main character, and I like that show a lot. My Hero is an easy recommend. I will say, I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion recently when it dropped on Netflix for the first time ever.
Okay, and
that's technically a mecha anime, but it's a lot more like philosophical than even something like a Code Geass. But I thought it was really good. Like I was like, man, if I had watched this like during a really formative age, like if I had seen Neon Genesis back when I was like 15, I would have like formed a personality around it. Like that shows like it really spoke to me. I thought it was really, really good. I mean, the thing with me was I grew up like during the Toonami era, so I grew up on Dragon Ball Z and like Yu Yu Hakusho and all that shit, and like I don't think in good conscience I could recommend Dragon Ball Z to you, because that show's like it's like the starter anime. It gets you into like battle stuff and it's fun, but at some point, and this isn't a diss to the show because I'll always have a special place for it in my heart, but it's a very basic bitch show, like as far as like the character development goes. Like, and it's a lot of fun. And they came out with a version called Dragon Ball Z Kai that's like a much more streamlined version of the show, and that goes down a little smoother. But like, I mean, I love it, but I've not had the urge to go back and watch it. Like, and I haven't been keeping up with Super either. But I have two like really off the beaten path animes that I recommend to people just because I really enjoyed them, and they're both just one season. They're like one and done type things, and they're I don't know. I just really liked them, and both the names of both these shows are terrible. But one of them is called A Place Further Than the Universe. It's about these 4 girls who go on a journey to Antarctica, and it's just like I'm actually speaking of media. I'm a really easy cry. at stuff, and anything. Like, I'm really easy to manipulate when it comes to like movies and TV. And I'm pretty sure almost every episode I probably bawled like a little bitch at the end of it. Like, A Place Further Than the Universe just really got me good, and so I really enjoyed that show. And then there's an even more unfortunately titled show called Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
What?
I know.
What is that again?
Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. If you get like Rascal and Bunny in there, it'll show up. But that's a really interesting, weird show. I don't even know how to describe it. There's like sometimes when people have like really certain deep feelings, these sort of like supernatural events will start happening to them. Like this girl, not to spoil it, but you find out pretty quickly. Like the first girl he meets, like she's like a super famous like idol, and she hates being in the public eye. And so it's sort of like a monkey's paw situation where she starts becoming invisible to people more and more. And she's basically is fading away from the world. And he's like trying to help her, but it is also like a romance too. And it's one of the more the dialogue of the show is as far as anime goes, is for me, it was like very top tier from anything I've watched. And those are two shows I recommend, just hoping someone will watch them. Like, they're very off the beaten path, but I think they're really solid. I like both those shows a lot, but My Hero I couldn't recommend enough. And Neon Genesis is worth getting into. But Code Geass is great, and you should continue with Hunter x Hunter. I'm going to get into it eventually, but I've heard Attack on Titan is pretty bomb too.
That's another one I have.
Yeah, the new season's airing now, and people are like losing their minds. It's apparently amazing.
What?
Like, so they're on, I think, season 4, and I don't think it's terribly long manga either, because the manga's wrapping up soon too. So the show shouldn't be terribly long. There probably is only going to be 4 seasons, so it's pretty manageable. Whereas, like, if you start fucking around with like something like One Piece that has like thousands of episodes, like that's something I'm not even going to touch anymore.
Right.
I will say, when I was younger, I was really into Naruto too, but I don't know how that would hold up these days. But that was like I went from like DBZ to like Naruto, and those were like my two. I'm sure my buddy would kill me if I didn't recommend Cowboy Bebop as well.
I've heard that one, and
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people talking about that one.
It's like one of his favorite shows, like, period.
Cowboy
like not even
Bebop.
just anime. Cowboy Bebop is amazing. It's really fucking good. I'll throw that one out there as well.
There's one that there's this kid at work, and I was looking at his shirt, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I like your shirt, man. I thought it was Hunter x Hunter," and I thought it was a Death Note, and he was like, "No, man, it's JoJo." JoJo something. He was like, dude, it's by far my favorite anime, man.
JoJo fans are very into JoJo. I have not boarded that train. It's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's a whole thing, like, with people. If people are really into JoJo, they're really into JoJo. It doesn't surprise me that someone that likes it would have a shirt of it, but it's impossible to describe. You just like, and it's like, it is a literal Pandora's box, like trying to get into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
And it says it right there. It's a bizarre adventure.
Yeah, and the thing is, it changes really wildly from season to season too. Because when it first starts off, it's just like a rich kid, and this guy comes to live at their manor, but he's kind of evil. And then a mask that makes you vampires. And then, have you ever heard the term stand? Does that mean anything to you?
No.
Like, that's JoJo's like, everybody has stands, which they have these spirits that fight with them and give them like superpowers. And it's all about like the posing. And it's just the most batshit insane show in manga like ever. But some people really, really fucking love it. And maybe if I gave it a better chance, maybe I would buy the hype. But I tried watching season 1 and I hated it. And I was like, I can't do this.
So what about it? What about it makes you describe it as a hype and you couldn't really get into it?
I think, and from what I've heard, is like, it is one of those shows where it's like, well, the first season's like, it is what it is, but you gotta like watch season 2 and season 3 and all these other stuff. It's like a whole thing where if you fully immerse yourself in it and like embrace it's very campy. And campy can be very hit or miss with me.
Right.
And it's just a little too weird. And I didn't like the characters very much either. I'm a big character guy. Like, the characters have to like really grab me, and I was like, I don't give a shit about this Nancy boy. Like, Dio's like kind of funny. He kills a dog in like the first 5 minutes of the show, and you're like, wow, that's a bad dude, I guess. Like, but I'd have to I've seen people talk about it a lot on the internet. There's like an anime podcast I listen to, and one of the guys is like a JoJo super fan. But when people are like JoJo super fans, they almost strike me as people who like things ironically in a weird way. And I can never tell if the JoJo love is genuine or if it's like everyone's just memeing. And just being like, yeah, JoJo's is the greatest show ever. And everyone, maybe you're supposed to wink and nudge somebody and be like, right? It's like, well, actually, but it's like some sort of terrible, weird show that everyone just agreed to like. I'm not sure. I've not given it a proper chance. We were watching it at a friend's house, while we played a board game in the background. And I was like, the show's straight up giving me a headache. But the end music has become a meme, which I do enjoy. I think it's one of those things that's the internet culture and meme culture has really
it's taken over.
That's a show that's really benefited from that kind of stuff because it's so memeable and people love referencing it and stuff. So I don't know. Anybody that's a JoJo's fan that hears me talk like this will probably want to really hit me with their stand powers or whatever. I was going to say something much more violent. I was like, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But hey, just like with Marvel, though, I don't want to shit on anything that people like. If people genuinely like JoJo, then cool. I would just say if that's something you're considering, just know going in, it's a whole thing. And I feel like there's maybe something I'm missing when it comes to it. There's the way the story is too is it's generational. JoJo, each season it'll be a different JoJo. It's this season it's Joseph Joestar, and this season it's this kind of JoJo, and it's all this weird, super expansive world. And there's I think it's what'll end up being season 6 or something like that. They have a female JoJo. And I was thinking maybe I would try to give that season a shot and see if that grabs me. Maybe I'd be more interested in her as a character. The characters seem to wildly vary, but I just don't get it. I just haven't gotten it. And there's so many other shows that are more interesting to me. I haven't given myself the time to get into it. It is you have to really get into that whole world if you want to get JoJo.
For sure. So talking about the things that, to get into your own world, we talked a little bit online in a little bit, and we talked about your top four films. And there's a couple of them that I didn't know about, like Ms. 45. And I watched the trailer for that, and I'm like,
sure.
Dude, I have to fucking watch this movie.
Yeah, it's great. It's only 80 minutes long too, so it's goes down real smooth. It's a super breezy watch.
Yes. Where can I find that? Is there any streaming services right now I can find it on, or do I need to find a blockbuster?
I think for a while it was on Shudder. But I own the Blu-ray, so sometimes people are because I did my top 10 of the 2010s list, and my cousin was like, yo, where can I find some of these movies? And I was like, shit, man, I didn't even think about that, because he's like, you should tell people where they can find them. And I was like, I own all these movies though, because I do buy physical media still,
right?
And so I'm like, I have that shit on Blu-ray. I'm like, I don't even know where you would find it, because I put the DVD in when I want to see it. I do remember it being on Shudder for a minute. But yeah, it's just a movie I saw. I really like, I love a woman on a rampage movie. And unfortunately, that genre often does go hand in hand with what you would call a rape revenge movie. Say, I Spit on Your Grave or something like that. And in Miss 45, it is in that genre. Spoilers for it, but it happens in the first 5 minutes. So that part is hard for me, because it is a little icky sometimes to sit through that. But at the same time, for the rest of the movie, you're just watching this chick just murder bad dudes and just do her thing, and it's just so fun to watch. And the thing that about Miss 45 in particular that I really like, it's a movie from 1981, and it's a very low budget movie by Abel Ferrara, who made Bad Lieutenant. If you've heard of that, not the Nicolas Cage one, but because it's a low budget, really early 80s movie, it basically looks like a 70s movie. And I love 70s film. I love stuff that's shot on film, and it's New York, just gritty, shitty. It just looks it looks like it probably would have been rough to live there, but it looks so good on film, New York. And it's just 80 minutes of just, and the main character, she's mute too, and that's a whole thing. So you're getting this performance from this actor who she she literally doesn't talk the whole movie. So her entire performance is silent, and she's still just like knocking it out of the park. And it's just like, I don't know, I just find that movie really mesmerizing. I've watched it a lot just because I really like a lot of the shots are really creative. And I do think that where the film goes, it is like, it does have things that it's saying. There is actually like a lot of subtext to what's going on. And there's some stuff that happens in the climax that is very, I think, telling of like the story that it's actually trying to convey at the end. And there's just, to me, so many iconic moments and stuff, like her putting on her lipstick and like dressing up like a nun and all this like crazy shit. Like, I don't know. It's just, if you like a woman on a rampage movie, like that movie is pretty top tier for me. And I tend to watch anytime I see like there's a woman and she's mad and she's got a gun. I'm like, I will watch that movie. Like,
Yeah, I definitely. That's one of those movies. Like, I do have a collection of movies at home, like physical movies at home, like just regular DVDs or Blu-rays. I love to collect movies as well. So that I'd probably go out if I can find it on Amazon or something. I'm definitely.
I could probably just lend it to you too.
That is awesome. But I would love to like, because I do have a lot of friends that are. That you know, like the arts and whatever, you know, and if someone comes over and like, hey, what new movie? I'm like, put that one in, you know.
Yeah.
They're like, damn, what? Okay, it's a little bougie now. Like, no, yeah.
I have a real thing for like low budget film too. Like good, not if it's low budget, I don't just automatically like it, but like well done low budget film. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of creative moments where it's like, yeah, you saved a bunch of money by shooting it this way, and I really respect that. I like that a lot. There's a shot where she holds an iron in the air, and then she brings it down, and we just hang on that shot of her bringing it down. It's just empty, but you get the implication of what just happened, and you don't have to show some dude getting his brain splattered and pay thousands of dollars for special effects. You're still conveying what just happened with a more like artistic shot. I like going back to Star Wars. Star Wars is the greatest example of like constraint breeds creativity. Like, you know, George Lucas like only had so much to work with that first movie, but it actually forced him to get creative and do things that maybe he wouldn't have done if he had access to all the money in the world. And you get this iconic stuff because of that. Like, I really like people having to work within boxes sometimes. Like, there's plenty of people that have had millions of dollars to make what they want, and they make really cool shit. Right. But I also just really like seeing people be creative and like think outside the box and stuff like that. And that's why that movie strikes me so much too. It's just, I don't know. And part of it's just because I've watched it so many fucking times. Like, it's just like tattooed into my brain. Yeah. I'd be curious, like, what people, because I don't think it's a movie that's like people talk about that much. It's just, it just caught me at a particular time in my life and it really struck me. And I was just like, it's one of those movies that when I watch, I'm like, if I made a movie like this, I would be happy. Like, I could be really happy with my life if I made something like as decent as this. Or at least like half as decent, because it just like struck me in such a profound way, I guess. And it's a weird movie to like fanboy over if people have seen it. They're just like, Miss 45, that's this random ass movie, but I don't know. I really like it. You were just asking me what my favorites were, and I was like, here's what I have on my Letterboxd currently as my like 4 poster movies.
But no, yeah, I mean, that's definitely one. I definitely put it when I was writing everything down to kind of like figure out what was going on for the show. I'm like, Miss 45, and I watched the trailer, and I'm like, need to watch. Like, I need to watch.
That's exciting. I'm glad that it actually grabbed you. Like,
no, watching that, because I do have like a different, not different, but I do have like a wide, like I throw my net out there. You know, I cast my net out there when it comes to movies. So I like a little bit of all different types of movies. Yeah. You know, like I get into like the popcorn movies that are, you know, in the cinema and whatever. And then I also get into like the low budget films as well. I've seen a lot of movies that people are like just like, really? Are you watching that? Like, yeah, man, this shit is fucking awesome, man. And I have a horrible memory, so I forget all these movies that I really love. There's this movie that is shot in black and white. It's supposed to take place around the 40s, and this girl is a con artist. She's like a young girl, is a con artist, and then she comes into contact with this gentleman. I think it's called something with a moon, something moon. And and she comes in contact with this Bible salesman, and he's basically trying to con people into buying this Bible printed with the person with someone's name on it that just passed away. So he'll just like figure out who's passed away and goes from town to town trying to sell these Bibles, and he'll go back to his vehicle and have it inscribed with that person's name in it. So that movie really grabbed me because of the costumes, because like it looked like it was from the 40s. You got the feel from the 40s, and it was made around, I think, the late 70s. Fuck, it's gonna piss me off now that I don't remember this movie.
I know that feeling.
But that's like one of it's not on my list, but it's one of those like obscure movies that no one really like talks about all the time.
It feels good to like have a couple movies where you're like, I can recommend something and you probably haven't seen it, and that's fun because it's no fun to be like, hey, I want to watch a show. It's like, oh, have you seen The Sopranos? And it's like, yeah, I've seen the fucking Sopranos. Right. Like, it's like you got something I haven't seen, so it feels good to have that kind of stuff. I've actually never heard of that movie, so I'd be curious.
I just figured it out. It's called Paper Moon.
That sounds familiar.
Paper Moon is a 1973 American road comedy drama film directed by Peter, and I'm going to butcher this dude's name, Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich. See, so you're familiar. And released by Paramount Pictures, screenwriter, whatever. Adapted the script from 1971 novel Addie Prey by Joe David Brown. The film, shot in black and white, is set in Kansas and Missouri during the Great Depression. And it was box office $30.9 million. And I think it was like the budget wasn't even that much as well. But it's a fucking awesome movie.
Yeah, I'm woefully. I don't know if I've ever sat and fully watched any Bogdanovich movie, but I'm like super aware of him. He's like, I believe he's Last Picture Show. Which is like super famous, like really young Jeff Bridges movie, and he's like he's actually really heavily featured in the Orson Welles documentary that came out a couple years ago.
Really?
Because they were really close, and he does some acting too, and he's in Orson Welles' last movie like pretty prominently with John Huston, and that documentary is fascinating. And the movie that Orson Welles made that they stitched together is interesting. But yeah, Bogdanovich is a real character. He's if he made it, it's definitely like somewhere on some list of stuff I need to see.
Oh, it's amazing because it's like he starts to the Bible salesman that kind of like cons people into buying these books from them. He starts to learn stuff from this like 11-year-old girl that goes around and quick change artists people like at the cash register and shit. And like I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like they're both learning from each other, but they're decades apart.
Well, that's interesting because I don't know if I threw it out when we were talking, but a movie I actually really like is Leon the Professional.
Yes. It
sounds like there's shades of the older dude learning from a 12-year-old girl and vice versa. Like, I don't know if you've seen Leon the Professional, but
yeah,
like that I love that movie. So I'd be curious if like Luc Besson like took some. If I watched Paper Moon, I wonder if I would see shades of Paper Moon in Leon the Professional.
Maybe
that's interesting.
Maybe I found some of the. I found you guys at home can't see this, but that's the artwork for it.
Yeah, when you said Paper Moon, there's like a little voice in the back of my head that's like, you've heard of this movie, yeah. So that even the poster looks somewhat familiar. I love that old school 70s shit though. Like if people look up the poster, it's just like, man.
Dude, yes. And this was introduced to me when I was like about 15 years old. And the guy who introduced it to me was a friend of my father's, and he was a huge baseball nut, and I was huge into baseball, and he was into film, and I was like getting into film. I was liking all the 80s movies that are out and 90s movies at the time, and he was like, "Okay, you like that? You like that shit? Okay, sit down. Let's watch a fucking real film."
Do you not to get off on a different tangent, but
sure, go ahead.
Do you are you like a big sports movie guy or?
I think they get yes and no. They're really predictable for me.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because I did a League of Their Own for my podcast, and the conceit of my podcast is I mostly do movies that I've never seen before that are considered classic movies.
No, for sure. Yeah.
So I hadn't seen A League of Their Own, and I was talking about spoilers for a 20-something-year-old movie, which it would have been spoilers to me because I hadn't seen it before. So, but
right.
In that movie, they lose the championship game, and I was going on about like I like in sports movies when the team loses because I'm like I don't know why. Like it's hard. Just like it's just nice to see like not the everything worked out and we won and yay. It's just like they learned something in their loss and you still got the struggle. So like when you say predictable, I 100% know what you're talking about. But I mean, man, like when a good sports movie is good, it's real good. I was curious. You said you liked baseball because the reason I was thinking about it was in my opinion, I think baseball sports movies are maybe the best sports movies.
Yeah.
And I've heard people talk about this, like, you know, we as Americans, like football is obviously the most popular sport, but it's like there's a whole thing where it's like the characters have helmets on and you can't empathize with them as much. And with baseball, there's no helmets and the pacing of the game can be really controlled.
Yes.
Not quite like basketball, not quite like football. Like I think there's probably just in terms of quantity, I would bet baseball movies, there's more better baseball movies. And I can think of like The Natural and Major League and A League of Their Own and like football movies. It's like Remember the Titans and I don't know. Like
that's it.
The Blind Side, if you like that kind of stuff, like
right.
We Are Marshall. I don't know. Like I love basketball. I always joke that like the reason I wasn't a cinephile until my 20s is my family doesn't really watch movies, but my dad does love Hoosiers, so I'll always have a soft spot for Hoosiers. For sure. Like I've been to that fucking gym that they shot it at. My dad like took me there and was like, they shot that here, and I was looking at it, this is cool. Like, so I do love Hoosiers, but basketball movies, it's like, I don't know. You ever see He Got Game?
Yes. Yes.
Or is that am I thinking of the wrong one? What's the one with Denzel Washington and Ray Allen?
I believe that's He Got Game.
So I was like, I was watching it. It was on TV once, and I was like, is that Ray fucking Allen? Like, why is he in a movie? What is this movie? It's sad old man Denzel thinking he's still got the skills to take on Ray Allen. That movie's brutal. I actually like that movie a lot.
Not to change the subject a little bit, we'll get right back on it. But I don't know, for some reason, I achieved a goal by just sitting here and moving up and down to like turn the lights on.
Getting up is hard work, man.
No, I don't know if you mentioned Field of Dreams, but like, dude, Field of Dreams is like one of my favorite baseball movies of all time because baseball is life.
Yeah.
Life is baseball because you're up at bat. It's you against someone else. It's like you against life, and you have to take the pitches as they come. Sometimes you might get a curveball, a nasty curveball that comes at you, maybe a knuckleball that you've never seen before because only a few pitchers know how to pitch those correctly. Mm-hmm. And once you get a nice, perfect, knuckleball come at you, just like waves around the fucking, world all over at you and you can't hit it and it moves like at 30 miles an hour or 40, 50 miles an hour and you can't hit it. It's like, fuck, that's life, And that's why I like baseball so much. And you get the contrast a little bit in the movies as well. Is like baseball is tough. Life is tough. Even though it's a slow pacing game, and people who really don't like baseball, they probably are well off in life and they've never experienced any any nothing in their life or tragedy or anything because baseball is life to me, because you always hear like, what do you do when there's a guy on second and it's the bottom of the ninth and there's 2 outs? What do you do as a batter? And your coach looks at you and gives you the sign to just bunt or to swing away or whatever. Whatever you think is best for you and the team, that's what happens. And that's what life is about, is that you have a coach your family, your mother, your father telling you what to do. And then you're out there in front of the world and the world's at you, coming at you. But what your family has taught you and what you've been through with your friends and everything is like, you decide to not go with what your parents say, your coach, and do something fucking different, you know?
Yeah.
And you possibly might win the game or not. And then you're like, and then the coach comes at you like, I told you to do this. And that's life. And that's why I love baseball.
It occurred to me, though, I don't mean to diss basketball movies because White Men Can't Jump is a particular favorite of mine. I do like that movie a lot.
Rosie Perez. I fucking love Rosie Perez.
Yeah, she's amazing in that movie. All her Jeopardy stuff is so good.
Yes. Oh, and just, we have to, since we mentioned Jeopardy, rest in peace to Mr.
Trebek.
Trebek, man. I love that dude, man. I grew up watching that dude on TV. He was always on TV, man.
Have you seen that montage of him like trying to do TV spots and fucking them up and then like cussing and stuff?
I haven't.
Oh, dude, you have to look that video up. It's so good. He's just like, and call tonight at God fucking, hit this fucking, and you're like, holy shit, Alex Trebek is cussing. What is this? Like, it's so jarring. But you got to look that up. Yeah, Trebek was great. I mean, he's so classy, even like with all that stuff at the end.
Oh,
like,
I know.
Like, what
right?
an awesome dude.
Just like if anybody could do it right on even film, I mean, just putting your face out there like that and being so classy, so professional, so educated, and just held himself well, and just no one could, he has so much poise, so much like charisma, so much like character, so much no lights. And, I don't know. The guy was just fucking amazing just to sit here watching without a mustache, with a beard, without a beard, with a goatee, without a goatee. Like the guy went through phases, and it's like.
Were you a big Jeopardy fan then?
I watched a lot, when I was a kid. And then, we talked briefly before the podcast about a significant other I had, and she fucking loved Jeopardy.
I mean, it's like one of the best game shows like ever, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't like there's a reason it lasted so long because they just nailed the formula, and it's so iconic, even like the phrasing in the form of a question and stuff like that. And then, right. I mean, I do love the SNL skits and stuff like that. They're like, "Suck it, Trebek," like, and just and Norm Macdonald's Burt Reynolds stuff always really got me.
Yeah.
I used to be able to do one of his bits, but he's like, Mr. Reynolds. He's like, yeah, what do you want? He's like, you buzzed in. No, I didn't. He's like, yes, you did. Yeah, well, that's your opinion. Just people fucking with Will Ferrell's Trebek. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, it's so fucking good. It reminds me. I love Black Jeopardy.
Oh yeah, I remember the Tom Hanks one that they did.
The one where, again, rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman.
Oh, geez.
Was on, and he was like, they were like, something about like a picnic or a barbecue or something, and Karen brought a potato salad. He's like, no, I would not eat it because Karen probably made potato salad with no pepper or no salt. And they were like, yeah, you got it. Oh, it was amazing. Just what's not horrible, but what's always going to be memorable to me is that he died on my birthday, man. He died on August 28th. That's my birthday. Me, my brother, and my niece were all sitting watching. We were watching Back to the Future, actually, the first one, and because she had never seen it. And I'm like, you have to fucking see Back to the Future. It's like one of those films you just have to see. You got to see this movie. So we were watching it. And
it's so ingrained in the culture.
Oh, I know, right?
That's something I try to explore with my show, too, is like what has leaked through the popular culture that's not surprising to me, and what's like buried in these movies that maybe I've still never seen, even though it's like something you just see. It's been parodied to death. Like Back to the Future would be a fascinating first watch. I'd be curious, like what stands out and like what she saw coming, or like what like it was like, whoa, what the hell is this? Like he's like gonna kiss his mom? Like what the fuck? Like people don't really talk about the incest in this.
Right. But no, yeah, man, like,
Yeah, that came out of fucking nowhere. Like it was one of those, it was like when Kobe died. Like it was one of those, like I got on Twitter and just saw like Chadwick Boseman's face and it's like RIP. And I was just like, I had this like weird, like heart leap moment where it's like, I did not see who, he's like fucking 30. Like what? Like, it's just like, yeah, the Kobe thing was crazy too.
Yeah,
like,
that Kobe thing, that Kobe thing hit hard, man. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but just the type of person he was.
he's just an icon. Like
I know, just an icon and the person he was, the adversity he went through, just being in the limelight every day and just being a continuous, like, fucking awesome dude and winning an Oscar. Didn't he win an Oscar for his short film he did? He had like some part of it. He drew some shit. Like he drew like the whole thing. It was like an animated thing.
I don't 100% know, but that does ring a bell.
I believe he won an Oscar. He has an Oscar.
Yeah, because I think people would joke about like Oscar award winning Kobe or whatever.
Right. But yeah, he's an Oscar award winning basketball player.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have been like, I said to my friends, I was like, is this what getting older is? It's just every day you find out someone you knew died now. Like, cause I mean, yesterday it was Christopher Plummer and the day before that it was like Dustin Diamond. Right. And it's just like, what the fuck? Just every day I'm going to find out somebody fucking died. Like, that's just my life now. Like,
yeah. Imagine when you're 70, it's just like Martha died.
It's like, I mean, it is social media too.
Yeah.
Like, it's like if you're on it too much, you're just going to see that shit all the time. But yeah, like at least when I saw Christopher Plummer had died, I was like, Christopher Plummer dead at 91. I was like, at least he was 91.
At least, yeah.
Like,
he lived the life.
Yeah. He was just in Knives Out and he was really good in it. It's still like, he was still clearly like, seemed like he was doing fine. So that, like, I don't know.
What did you think? Talking about Knives Out, what did you think of Knives Out?
I liked it fine. I'm not like, I'm not the biggest Rian Johnson super fan for sure. And I'm not like one of these like, God, how dare you for The Last Jedi? People get really riled up about that shit. Like I have no stake in the Star Wars franchise. So that stuff's like, I like the Rey Kylo stuff in that movie. The rest of it I could take or leave. Like, but I do really like the Rey Kylo stuff in that movie. I love the scenes where they were like talking to each other. I've seen Brick. I've not seen Looper.
Looper was good.
But Knives Out, I liked how much fun it was having. And I like the cast. The cast is amazing. Like Michael Shannon and like I'm like a Lakeith Stanfield super fan. And so even though he's barely in the movie, I was like, it's him. There he is. And actually, I was a fan of him before I finally broke and watched Atlanta. And then I watched Atlanta and I couldn't stop watching it because that show's so fucking good. Yeah. Like everyone tells you it's good, and then you finally watch it and you're like, yeah, the hype was real. It's really good. The hype is real. But I liked it. I liked. I just the mystery, like I feel like the movie really, and I like her as an actor, but they really want you to like Ana de Armas. And they're just like, she's such a good person. And she's in the movie's like telling you, and Daniel Craig's like, and you're such a good person, and you're such a good person. And I'm like, okay, man, just let her be a good person. You don't have to tell me, like, because the movie really wants you to be on her side. And I was on her side anyway. And it just like, some of it was just a little mishandled. I didn't love the twist at the end, which is like, I won't spoil Knives Out because it's like a pretty recent movie and it's like really hinges on the mystery. I was like, okay, sure, like, I guess. But, you know, all the cast is great. Like Chris Evans is being smarmy as fuck, which I think people are so used to him being Captain America now, they forget that was like his thing back in the day. Like, if you watched like Scott Pilgrim or like Not Another Teen Movie, if you remember that, or his other superhero when he was the Human Torch, he's like a cocky asshole. That was like his thing. It was so fun seeing him like go back to that because he does it so well. It's that was fun. I love Michael Shannon. Really like off the beaten path movie that not a lot of people have seen is a movie he did called Take Shelter, and he's the lead in it, and it's just like it's one of those things where it's like he's one of those guys who's always like a side character in a movie, or he's the bad guy in a movie, and you finally get to watch something like Take Shelter where he's the lead and just absolutely killing it. That movie's really good. A buddy of mine, same buddy that likes Cowboy Bebop, he really wanted me to watch that movie, and I watched it. I was like, that was fucking great, dude. Like, Jessica Chastain's in that as well, and she's great. I like her.
Hell yeah.
But Knives Out, I liked. I was glad I finally watched it. I think I gave it like a 3.5 stars on Letterboxd or something like that out of 5. I definitely. I don't know if you've ever seen Brick. That's a whole experience.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one yet.
Like, the conceit of that movie is that it's modern times, and they're all high schoolers, but they all talk like it's an old timey. Oh gosh, what do you call those? Like a film noir.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh yeah, how much cake dough to make the canary fly? They all like talk like it's like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and they're all like 18. They're like 20 somethings playing 18-year-olds, like it always is. But right. It's just like the whole thing is they're all talking like super weird. That's like Rian Johnson's like breakout movie, and so I have seen that. But he seems like an interesting guy.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, so you've seen Knives Out, and am I to assume that you were kind of following him because he did the Star Wars movie and you were paying attention to his career? Or
well, yeah, I was mostly because of this of the cast, because it was pretty much star-studded. It was pretty good. And another movie, just kind of we're gonna segue into this later. True Romance has a fucking star-studded cast in that as well. And it's been forever since I've seen that movie. And when you mentioned that, I was like, dude, I haven't seen that movie in fucking forever.
Yeah.
I need to watch this movie again.
I love that movie.
I fucking love that movie, man. And I haven't seen it in forever. And I totally forgot that Tarantino wrote it.
Yeah.
Co-wrote it with, I forget who was the co-writer with it, but,
I don't know if anybody else has a script credit on that. I think that might be fully his.
Oh, it is? I thought it was co-wrote by someone else.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, the director, who, oh my God, I'm blank. I was literally about to say his name, and then I'm holy shit. And I'm fully drawing a blank. It's the Tony Scott. Scott.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Scott had script credit, but I think the thing with Tarantino that's weird is like, so he wrote True Romance and like Natural Born Killers around the same time, and those are two scripts that he sold, which I think he took his name off of Natural Born Killers because he hated the movie so much. But he seemed to like True Romance enough to keep his. I think it's the only movie that's ever been made that he has the screenwriting credit on that he didn't direct. But I always say about that movie is it's the one movie I'm actually really glad Tarantino didn't direct. Because the movie is so Clarence, the character played by Christian Slater,
right,
is such a Tarantino self-insert character.
Oh, just from the beginning of the movie.
That script is the script that every person who's a writer, that's the script that they always write. That's the first script they always write. I'm in this movie, and I'm a cool guy, and I get the hot girl. There's like this really beautiful prostitute who literally quits being a prostitute because she's so in love with me, and we go on the run and do crime and stuff, and it's awesome, and I'm awesome, and I'm so cool. Like literally the theme song of the movie, the name of the song is called You're So Cool. Like it's like Hans Zimmer did the score, but You're So Cool is like a complete direct ripoff of the theme music from Badlands from like the 70s, this movie Badlands. It's really hilarious because I watched True Romance a bunch and finally went and watched Badlands. And I was like, what the hell is this? Why is the song from True Romance in this? And I was like, well, this movie came out 20 years before True Romance. So I think, why is this song in True Romance? Right. But since he didn't direct it, there's enough distance between the material and since Tony Scott just comes in with his, like, Tony Scott's a very earnest filmmaker. And I think that earnestness, like, helps that movie sing in a way that if Tarantino had directed it, I don't know if it would be as good. Like, I think it's the really, like, lightning in a bottle situation where Tarantino hands over, and because Tarantino's such a good writer, that stupid schlocky script that every writer needs to get out of their system when they first start writing happens to be actually a good script. Right. And then you bring in someone like Tony Scott, who's an amazing director, who unfortunately, I don't know if a lot of people know this about him, but he ended up like killing himself a few years ago because he just like had serious like battles with like mental depression and stuff like that. And so it's really shitty because I mean, Tony Scott, you're talking like Top Gun.
Right.
Like Tony Scott's amazing. Ridley Scott's brother, if people don't know. Mm-hmm. But I think he's what helps that movie. And then the cast is like getting a lot of people like maybe before they even like. I mean, famously, Brad Pitt is a tiny bit player in that movie. He's just a stoner roommate on the couch. So this is like super Brad Pitt's blow up type stuff. But I have a hard time explaining what it is that I love about that movie so much, other than I just have probably watched it 100 times and I just love it so much. And it's not even like, I like romance stories where you're watching two characters, like you figure out what it is about each other that makes them need each other.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's not like that so much. It's sprinkled here and there. And someday I want to do a deep dive into it and really dig at that. But the movie is like, if you haven't seen it, in the first 10 minutes, he like goes on a date with Alabama and she's basically like, your boss paid me to sleep with you, but I'm in love with you. And he's like, if I say I'm in love with you, like, am I going to look like an asshole or what? And she's like, no. And then first 10 minutes they're together and then they're just together for the whole movie. And the movie's a lot more like plot driven, but for some reason, just like every scene is so memorable. I mean, the Christopher Walken, Dennis Hoffman scene is just like a fucking all timer. Like the monologue, and it's just like so two heavyweights like battling each other in that scene. And it's the only scene that Christopher Walken's in too. Like he's in that one scene and he's just gone. He's not in the movie anymore. Like, and James Gandolfini,
right?
Like, is just like, man, like it's so crazy. And what's his face, Clarence's friend that, I mean, Gary Oldman obviously is iconic in that movie with the weird, like Rastafarian thing that he's doing. Like, I love the voice that he's doing, but it's almost like comical. There's like a scene in the show Barry where somebody's doing that scene for their like actor audition, and it's like so hacky, and you're just like cringing watching him do it. He's just like, Clarence. You're just like, oh, come on. But even that scene's like, Clarence is like too cool because he's like, you ain't even sat down yet. And he's just like, I didn't sit down because I'm not standing. He like does this whole thing. You can just imagine Tarantino imagining himself like being this cool guy, but because he didn't direct it, I think you get away with it in a weird way. Like, and it works. It's like the ultimate wish fulfillment movie.
No, I mean, from the first like 10, 15 minutes of the movie, I'm like, I forgot that Tarantino wrote this. And then when I looked it up and you said True Romance, I'm like, man, I forgot. Oh, Tarantino, what the fuck? And then I watched like for the first 15 minutes of the movie, and I'm like, dude, this is so fucking Tarantino. The way he talks.
Yeah.
The way Christian Slater talks is so fucking Tarantino.
Yeah. The opening scene is him like trying to pick up a woman at the bar.
Yeah.
And he's just like, she's like,
no.
He's just like, if I had to fuck a dude, like absolutely had to, I'd fuck Elvis. And like, he just has this rant about like, and then even that's like, that's, what's his face from, why can't I think of his fucking name? Val Kilmer is the guy playing Elvis.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson's in like one of the first scenes for like 2 seconds. And you're just like, Sam Jackson, holy shit. Like the entire cast is crazy. The guy that, plays Len, who's like the producer that wants to buy the cocaine.
Oh, right.
He's so good. He's not been in a ton of stuff. But like, he's just, I love every bit of that movie. And like, I have like a thing where I usually put on a movie to like go to sleep to. And I've been through multiple phases where it's just like True Romance month. I'm just going to watch True Romance before bed every night for a while. Right now it's Atlantis, The Lost Empire, the Disney movie. I've just been putting that on because I had the weird bug up my ass to watch it, and I was like, "This movie's fucking good." I actually really like that movie. That would be up there if I was like ranking Disney movies. Atlantis would be very high on that list for sure.
Right on.
But yeah, True Romance. It's hard to explain. I just like. I mean, and it's something that maybe's flown under a lot of people's radar. Like, so, like, if they missed out on it, and if you like Tarantino at all, I mean, you're going to get a big kick out of the movie.
No, I have a huge poster of Reservoir Dogs in my study. So.
I don't know why I said like I knew that.
Yeah, I saw it the other day.
Yeah, the binoculars I got are really good.
Oh, shit.
I was more saying, like, of course, that would be a great poster to have. Like.
It's the poster of Mr. Is it Mr. Blonde? I believe, yeah, Mr. Blonde. He was like, "Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Are you gonna bite?" And he has his legs crossed, leaned up against that pillar. with that fucking Slurpee in his head, or the fucking big gulp or whatever he had. Fucking iconic moment in film, man, especially for Quentin Tarantino, man.
Yeah, Reservoir Dogs, when I was doing my my Tarantino list, so to speak, on my filler episode or whatever, I was including movies he's written. So Reservoir Dogs was number 3 on my list.
So what was number 1?
Number 1 was True Romance. I just genuinely love True Romance. And then number 2 was Pulp Fiction. And I went on a whole rant about, I'm like, look, Pulp Fiction's the obvious pick, but there's a reason why it's the obvious pick. It's a fucking amazing movie. Like, it's as simple as one day I wanted to clean my room, was like, I'll put on a movie in the background that I've seen a million times so I can just clean and half pay attention to it. My stupid ass picks Pulp Fiction. And next thing you know, I'm sitting on the floor 20 minutes later just watching the fucking movie, just surrounded by clothes and dirty everything. And I'm just like glued to the screen. That movie is mesmerizing. So I had to pick it. Like, I think my more controversial stuff is I actually really like Death Proof. Which is like the one that everybody forgets about.
No, I don't. I fucking love Death Proof.
I feel like people like I feel like sometimes I feel like Tarantino himself has like tried to kind of distance himself from that movie a little bit, but I love Death Proof. I love Death Proof. I had it really high on my list. It was like probably number 4 or 5, maybe under like. No, I think I put it under the Kill Bill movies, but
you know what I liked about Death Proof is like. There's so much. He did a lot of like old school shit in the Death Proof movie that normal people wouldn't do in this time in like, you know, big screen movies in that time when it came out. Like all the chase scenes, all the car chase scenes, those were fucking real, man.
Yeah.
They had a real fucking stuntman in that shit.
Yes, they did.
Stuntman Mike was like a real fucking dude, you know? And he's like, he was bringing that whole thing, that whole stuntman thing to the forefront. Hence, like, what's her name?
Zoe
Bell. And, you know, she starred in, she got her star role in, what was that movie she got her star role in?
Was she the star of it or just in it?
Not star role. She was just in it.
I mean, she's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but just briefly doing a kind of a bad American accent.
But then I'm not going to say star role. I said her her first role as like an actor was in Death Proof.
Yeah.
And she was the stuntman, and she played in it.
Yeah, because she was Uma Thurman's stunt woman.
Yeah,
and that's how Tarantino met her. And he was like, "I'm going to write a movie where you're a stunt person, and I'm just going to be in the fucking movie." And he did it, and it's her doing the stunts.
Yes.
And it just adds so much to it.
When they did the fucking ship's mast, dude, that shit was fucking awesome, dude. I love that fucking movie.
Yeah, the behind the scenes for Death Proof is amazing.
Yes,
like. And the first time I ever watched it, the mid-movie twist got me so good because I didn't know anything going into the movie.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it because it probably is one that people have missed. Like halfway through the movie, something happens and you're just like, what the hell?
Fuck?
Like, what just happened? You can't do this. That's not how movies work.
Right.
Like, it's really good.
But I love how there's like a little parallel between the girls because Reservoir Dogs is all guys, and then there's this like scene where it's like a bunch of girls talking, and he does kind of the same pan, where it pans around these girls and they're all talking girl shop, you know, just how the guys were like Bonnie, Jenna, Bonnie Jane, Bonnie this, but I'm no.
Yeah.
He's like, I got fucking Madonna's big dick in my one ear, and I have this and another. He's like, what the fuck is going on, man? I love that contrast where he brought.
You see like, this?
Yeah,
smallest violin
playing for you right now. I don't tip. Yeah, so doing that, like doing that, like little diner moment from Reservoir Dogs, and then bringing it into Death Proof. I was just like, I see what you did here, Quentin.
What's funny is I read a review a while back that I kind of agree with about Death Proof, where they were like, every piece of that movie is perfect grindhouse schlock stuff. Because, and of course, Tarantino loves that shit, and he's great at emulating stuff. Some would say that, I would say people that don't love him as much say that's all he does. But they were like, the one thing that's a little bit weird about that movie is the scene that's almost exactly like Reservoir Dogs, because they're like, he's weirdly almost homaging himself. And someone was like, they're like, I swear to God, I'm not saying this to like be a pervert or something like that. But that scene, if that scene was happening in a real Grindhouse movie, like they'd be like in the shower, like nude, like soaping their tits and like,
Right. Yeah.
like I was like, I guess, yeah, that makes sense. Like it's just kind of funny to me, like almost do the same thing, but they're like just, it's like gratuitous. Like, cause I mean, that was Grindhouse back in the day.
Right.
Like if you're like really going to do Grindhouse. But I, until I read that review, I that scene never really stuck out to me that much. I love just like when she gets mad about the New Zealand thing.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, you're like Australian.
We are Kiwis. I'm just talking about Kiwis. That was the first time I knew that there was a difference between them, because like seriously, I didn't know the difference between a New Zealand and an Australian.
Yeah.
I knew there were different parts, but like
I don't know for sure. I don't think they get like legitimately super riled up if you confuse it, but it is like it is
funny.
distinct. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like Taika Waititi is like a New Zealander,
Yeah.
not an Australian. Like there's some cultural differences between the two things.
Oh, for sure.
And only one place is where they shot Lord of the Rings. So,
Dude, you were talking about Lord of the Rings, man, and I fucking loved Lord of the Rings growing up, and I don't know if you know this, but they're doing a Lord of the Rings show.
yeah, I was doing a podcast with my buddies when I went on that same fantasy tangent, and I was just like, I'm so nervous that they're going to take all the wrong cues from why Game of Thrones was popular and try to like Game of Thronesify Lord of the Rings, and it's going to be like, I don't know. The jury is out on whether that's going to work out or not. I hope it's good. I would like it to be good. I never want it. No one ever wants anything to be bad,
Right,
You know,
right,
like
right.
it's just I'm a little bit skeptical. There was like a slight controversy where some casting call they had posted for the show was like calling for actors that were willing to do nudity. Right. And someone was like, nudity in Lord of the Rings, what the fuck are you doing? This isn't fucking Game of Thrones. And like, I was just like, yeah, kind of. I could see how that could be a sign that maybe they're going in a weird direction with it. But I'm just like, I don't know. I never judge anything until it's out. Right. I have Amazon Prime. I'll fucking watch it. Like, so, I mean.
No, I mean, fuck, man.
It's apparently like a prequel, like a super duper, like hundreds, maybe thousands of years in the past prequel type thing. I guess that's what they're doing. So don't expect Aragorn.
Not expect any of that shit. We're gonna
maybe could get a Legolas character. You could maybe get away with that, but I think Orlando Bloom's probably looking a lot older than he did 20 years ago. So.
Right. So, I mean, we kind of touched on a little bit of like your favorite stuff, and for the people out there, I'm just going to kind of breeze through Jake Baker's top 4 films, his favorite directors, favorite actors, and guilty pleasures. And he quotes, and I quote, "I don't necessarily believe in that term," but we're kind of going to get through all of these. So
no, that's fine. I like lists and stuff. I like
top 4 films. He says, this is in no order at all. True Romance, Miss 45, which we talked about, 7 Psychopaths, which I want to watch that as well. It looks funny and interesting at the same time. And The Handmaid, Maiden. That looks very interesting, and that is definitely on my radar. Those Miss 45 and The Handmaiden are definitely on my radar. I would definitely want to get those a watch.
Yeah, any movie that Park Chan-wook has his name on is worth watching.
It looks stunningly fucking shot, and just like everything it's done. He's like,
I hate that. I hate that phrase. That's like every frame a painting, but like legitimately, that movie is like every frame is a fucking painting. It's so gorgeous. Like spoilers for my top 10 of the 2010s movie list, but The Handmaiden was my number 1 movie of that decade. I adore that movie. It's so good, and I love Park Chan-wook too. He made a vampire movie called Thirst, starring the guy that's in Parasite, which was most people have seen because I actually broke through the mainstream.
Right.
But Song Kang-ho is a priest turned vampire in that movie. It's really good.
Yes. So give that a watch, guys. And then favorite directors, you got to have to help me with some of these. You already mentioned Park Chan-wook in Yorgos.
Oh, Yorgos Lanthimos.
Lanthimos.
He's a Greek filmmaker. Most people have at least heard of The Lobster. That's what they would maybe know him for.
Okay.
He makes very strange, very off-kilter movies. The Lobster is not for everybody. I usually recommend either The Lobster or The Favorite if you're looking to check his movies out, because those are the most like palatable. And then if you really like his shit, then you can get like deep and dark. Like Sacred Deer and Dogtooth are very, very fucked up movies, but like I love them so much.
Wow. Okay.
He's like literally probably my favorite, besides Park Chan-wook, like probably one of my favorite working directors. Like in terms of people that's like making shit today. He's got like a detective movie coming out in a year or two or something, from what I heard. I'm sure the pandemic probably shut some of that shit down, but yeah, I love Yorgos Lanthimos. I just love his attitude about filmmaking too. He's just very like, it's a movie. Like he's just like so not serious about it. I love it. He's not like pretentious, even though his movies could probably strike you as pretentious. He's like so unpretentious.
Right.
It made me love his stuff a lot more because I really felt like I got what he was going for. I would recommend The Lobster for people
I gotta check that out.
of his stuff. But if you get like 30 minutes in and you're hating it, I'm not going to blame you for shutting it off. I've had multiple friends be like, why the fuck did you recommend this to me? I'm just like, but if it clicks with you, it's really going to click. So it's like, it's worth taking a swing at.
Right on. And then you have Tarantino. We talked about Tarantino a little bit. And then the last here, but not least, Martin
Martin McDonagh. He's the director of Seven Psychopaths.
Oh, right on.
And then his other two movies are In Bruges and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. He's only made 3 movies. Before this, he was mostly a playwright, but he's made 3 movies, and all 3 movies he's made are 3 of my favorite movies of all time. So
interesting.
Anytime he says he's doing anything, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yes.
I love Martin McDonagh. And his brother also makes movies, and he's really good too, John Michael McDonagh. The Calvary is a fucking excellent movie. If Brendan Gleeson plays a priest in it. We want to talk about gorgeous. They shoot it in like this like country town in Ireland, and the vistas are just like so fucking beautiful. You're just like, God, I want to go here so bad. It's like the same place where they shot like not the exact same place, but like some of the scenes from like the Star Wars, like the island that Luke's on, they shot that around like Ireland and shit.
Right.
Like that landscape is just so beautiful. Like there's just nothing quite like Europe, like in general.
Right on.
Sorry,
man.
I keep cutting you off.
No, you're good, man. This is what this podcast is about. You, bro. This is about you, homie. Then favorite actors. I'm going to run through all of these. Colin Farrell, Nicole Kidman, Aaliyah.
Aaliyah Shawkat.
Aaliyah Shawkat.
Most people know her from Arrested Development. She plays Maybe. She's really having like she's been steadily getting more and more famous though. Like she just shows up in a lot of stuff. Her show that she's doing right now that I'm forgetting the name of, Search Party. I've actually not watched it, but I really like. She's in Green Room, if you've ever seen that.
No, I don't think I have.
But yeah, most people know her from Arrested Development if they've seen the show.
Right on.
She's great.
Then we got Florence. Is it Pugh?
Yeah, Pugh.
And then Amy Adams, which I do like a lot. I do like Amy Adams.
Arrival's on my top list of 2010s, and she's just, I mean, that entire movie is her. Like, yeah.
Amy Adams is awesome.
It is criminal that she doesn't have an Oscar. She'll get one eventually because she's just that good. But like, if she's in a movie, it's like a stamp of quality for me. Like, I don't think she's ever like, she's never been bad in a movie, and she's almost never in movies that I don't like because she's just so good in them.
Yeah.
Like, she's just fantastic.
Was it Aubrey Plaza?
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza's great. She's really having a career renaissance too, because like most people know her from Parks and Rec, and she does that like I'm sardonic and sarcastic, and they thought that was like all she could do. But she's capable of a lot more than that. Like Ingrid Goes West is on my aforementioned 2010s list, and I just think that she's so good in that movie. She's in a movie that came out last year called Black Bear that she's so fucking good in. She's a great actor, and people need to wake up on Aubrey Plaza. I love Aubrey Plaza.
You also have Jessica Buckley.
That's just mostly because I really liked I'm Thinking of Ending Things. She's so good in it.
Oh, right on.
She's apparently in the new season of Fargo.
Right on.
Doing like a Minnesota accent.
Minnesota. I can't get this one. Is it Lakey?
Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield. Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out and
that's that. Yes, okay.
yeah,
Daniel
Widows.
Kaluuya. Yes.
Queen and Slim.
Yes.
Did you see Queen and Slim?
I did.
I really like that movie.
People beat that movie up a little bit.
They slept on it.
That movie was fucking awesome.
When I first walked out of the theater, I was like, that movie was like, I had a lot of problems. And then I just kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. It's so gorgeous. I love the way it's directed. And the love story, like it took me a while to worm its way into my brain, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, but the way they like fill each other out and like, man, I love that movie. Queen and Slim's so fucking good.
Some of the symbolism in that movie when they went to her uncle's house and they changed into clothes and they were like pimps and hoes.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is what, fucking America thinks that black people are, is pimps and hoes. And it's like,
you talk about like having posters. Like I've been meaning to get like the shot from the movie that becomes like viral of them like in front of the car. I want that as a poster so
the
fucking
black and
bad.
white photo.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's even that photo because you can see Jodie Smith, I think that's the actor's name, looking at him in that moment, and she's kind of like, it's like the moment where he's finally kind of owning himself and like allowing himself to like be out there, and like she sees him do that in that moment, and it's like the moment where you can tell she kind of falls for him a little bit. And the fact that that's the snapshot that they capture in that moment, it's just like, the movie's really good. Like it actually is legitimately really good.
No, I walked out of that movie like, fuck yeah, like let's start a revolution up in this bitch, man. Like I like seriously, I wanted to start a revolution on my own. Like, and then you have Jesse Plemons.
Oh, Plemons.
Plemons?
That's a lot of that is also because of I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I thought he was really good in that, but he's in that movie that's coming out. Speaking of Daniel Kaluuya, the reason all three of these were on my mind, Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield, and Jesse Plemons are all in Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes, I am excited for that fucking movie.
Very excited.
I saw the trailer the other day and I watched that and I was like, well, let's start a fucking movement. Let's do this shit.
The trailer that they did for that movie is insane because it's like Daniel Kaluuya, he's like doing this call and they got the music going to it. And I was like watching it at work on the computer and I was like sitting in the Maker Lab just like getting like fucking pumped up. I'm like, let's do this. Like, let's take over. Like they can't hold us down.
Yeah. It reminds me of P. Diddy. Can't hold me down. Oh no. I got to keep on moving. All right. Anyway, guilty pleasures, and
you're gonna get copyright struck for that.
Right,
perfect
I know.
song?
The perfect. Man, they think that I am P. Diddy. You said you don't really believe in the term guilty pleasures, but there are some things that they're guilty pleasures for me. But you said Jennifer's Body, Savage, A Perfect Getaway, and Never Surrender.
I want to clarify with Never Surrender. That is my So Bad It's Good movie. Like for some people, some people they have The Room, or those movies that people watch like ironically. Never Surrender. That's me, because I was really heavy into MMA for a while. I even had a cage fight. I got brutally beaten up in it. It did not do very well, but Never Surrender is like, this dude like got all these MMA dudes to come be in his movie, and it's so shitty, and none of them can act, and it's so fucking good, and the music is so bad, like, and also the guy that's the star of the movie is the writer, director, producer, everything. And he just makes himself the coolest, most badass. He never loses a fight in the movie. He like sleeps with all these women and they just love it. And I'm just like, this is so crazy. That movie's so fucking funny. I will say, it's Savages, the Oliver Stone movie, because there's a million movies called Savage, but Savages is a weird guilty pleasure for me. Oliver Stone's very hit or miss with some people, but I like a lot of his stuff.
No, I remember Savages, and I was like, dude, how is this his guilty pleasure? This is a fucking good movie. I thought this was a great movie.
I don't know why, but the fact that it just has the main central relationship happens to be all three of them in a relationship together. It's just like, I'd not really seen that before, and for some reason I just think of it like really fondly when I think of that movie. And I like the action. Like, I don't know, I like that movie a lot. But Jennifer's Body, I told you, is my number one like movie that I champion. That I'm like, this movie's fucking good, and people that don't think it's good are wrong.
Yeah, fuck you. Because I've seen Jennifer's Body, and I'm like, I like Jennifer's Body. You know? I know, I actually like Jennifer's Body, you know, because that was Megan Fox, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
dude, she's
and that's,
so
that's
fucking
the thing
hot
is
in
like
that movie.
when they were marketing that movie, they were like, we got to bank on the fact that Megan Fox is really hot, and it's like that movie is like. That should have been targeted more towards like a female demographic because it's about female friendships, like the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And instead they were trying to like, I guess, get boys in the theater, and it crashed and burned. And Megan Fox is like actually a good actor, but nobody gives her like the time of day. It's like a whole thing. And also the director of the movie, Karen Kusama, has subsequently, in my opinion, more than proven that she's an amazing director because the movies she's made after Jennifer's Body are all good. And like she made like The Invitation and Destroyer. I think I'm forgetting the one, but she had a really rough ride because she's the one that made Aeon Flux.
Yeah, Aeon Flux. Yeah.
But it's not her fault that movie sucks. The studio that was making that, they went through 3 different department heads while she was making that film. It was cut to ribbons. She barely, might as well not even have her name on that movie. And she was in the fucking director jail for like 5 years. She gets Jennifer's Body, makes a great movie, but it's marketed so poorly that it tanks. And then she's in director's jail again for like another 5 years. It's really fucked up. She does not get enough credit, and it's sad. But I love Jennifer's Body. I 100% will make a video on it someday.
Hell yeah, man. I definitely want to probably be on that show or video when you go through it. But I'm going to kind of go through me, and then with the time restraint that we have, I'm just going to fly through these.
I was going to say I wanted to hear some of yours.
Yeah, for sure. So my top 5 movies of all times. I've had a couple of beers today, and one is about 8% of alcohol content. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, boy.
These are not in any order at all. So Reservoir Dogs from 1992.
Hell yeah.
Tarantino, where he got his start, even though it's My Best Friend's Wedding is really his really first movie that he's ever
Sure.
done. Right. It is his really first movie that he ever done. But in a theoretical respect, you know, Reservoir Dogs is basically his first movie. Number 2, but again, not in any order, The Shining from Stanley Kubrick.
Okay.
I believe that even though Stephen King fucking hates Stanley Kubrick for making this movie.
Sure.
I think it's probably one of the best horror films.
Does he still, I mean, to this day, does he still not like it? Or is that like back in the 80s, I'm still coked out of my mind, Stephen King?
I think he still doesn't appreciate that it really wasn't about The Shining.
Sure.
You know, because if you read the book, there's more about The Shining and about the ability and what's really going on at the hotel, and that's why it's an adaptation.
Yeah,
and it's more about like what Stanley Kubrick thought. And he has a lot of symbolism and a lot of things going on in that movie that is a little weird, and I fucking love that movie. I think The Shining is probably one of the best horror movies that's ever been made.
I don't think too many people would fight you on that. I mean, Kubrick's a genius. Like, I'm actually pretty. I know I sent you my list of movies to do for my show, and you'll notice a lot of Kubrick movies are on that list. I've basically seen The Shining, and maybe one I'm forgetting, but I've not seen a lot of Kubrick. Like, I haven't seen Space Odyssey. I haven't seen Dr. Strangelove. I haven't seen Barry Lyndon. I haven't seen Lolita. Like, I haven't seen Clockwork Orange. Like, I know of all these movies, but I haven't seen any of them. But I have seen The Shining. And
You know what? You know what would be awesome? Dude, there's a TV there. We got microphones. We can set them up, record it, and watch our reactions while watching the fucking movie and watch this shit together. Anyway, The Shining. I got Jaws from 1975.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because Jaws is one of those movies where a writer basically said, I'm going to make this fucking movie and it's going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
And he had to actually dip in his own pocket to make this movie happen because, I mean, we talked about how movies go over budget so many times.
Yeah.
This movie went over budget, I think 5 different times.
Sure.
And the studio was like, bro, we ain't got no more money for you.
Yeah.
And Steven Spielberg went in his own pocket to like try to make this.
Yeah, and he was really mad because I think it might have won Best Picture, but for some reason he didn't even, I think, get nominated for Best Director. It was like a really weird snub.
Right.
And he's like, there's a book called Easy Riders and Raging Bulls that covers film, like Hollywood from like 1969 to like the early 80s. And obviously they get into Jaws on that. And like, that is one of my favorite books I've ever read. Anybody that's like into filmmaking and loves the 70s and the rise of the auteur, as they call it. There's a lot of stuff in there about Jaws and stuff like, and Jaws is, when people say like, most people have seen it, but I think people forget. I feel the same way about Lord of the Rings in a weird way, not to connect two completely different movies, but it's one of those movies that you forget how good it is, and then you watch it again, you're like, fuck, this movie's good. It's so fucking good.
Yes. Yeah. Jaws is definitely like one of my top favorite movies of all time, just because of what the adversity Steven Spielberg had to go through.
And again,
his first film.
We're talking about constraint beats creativity. Like everybody knows this is like the super famous part. The robot kept breaking down.
Right.
And so you barely see the shark in the movie, and everybody knows that's what makes it so good. Like, and so it's like, I don't know.
It's like Shyamalan. Shyamalan does this a lot in his movies as well, where he doesn't really bring the antagonist in it a lot. He doesn't show him face. Like, like on
Signs.
On Signs. You don't see him. You just see that little hand out.
Yeah.
Because what you don't see scares you the most.
Yeah.
That scares you the most. You can see a monster and he can be all fucking CGI'd out or have like great fucking like a makeup, whatever, and that could fucking scare you.
Yeah.
But what scares you the most is what's created in your own mind.
100%. Anything you imagine in your head will be a million times scarier.
Right. So that's why Jaws is like the creation of all of that.
It's like that Cloverfield monster or the Blair Witch or whatever.
Yes.
It's like you don't really know what they look like, and it's like way scarier.
Just whatever you imagine is like, or what could happen because of this person if you see it, or this entity or whatever, it could make it just that much more horrible or whatever. And then we're going to go on to A New Hope. 1977 from George Lucas.
A New Hope is that's your favorite Star Wars?
That's my favorite Star Wars movie of all fucking time. Even though Empire Strikes Back is probably one of the best movies ever, I would have to say A New Hope has to be my favorite movie of all time, and I even draw a box around that motherfucker because he had to go through a lot to make this fucking movie happen, and some things got cut. A lot of things happen in this movie, and it's the birth of Star Wars, and that's why it's my favorite movie of all time.
Do you go back and watch any of those like old Japanese movies that like influenced him and stuff?
Oh, yes.
Because like I just watched Rashomon and Yojimbo for the first time a few weeks ago, and I was like, holy shit, I see how this like real, especially Yojimbo. Yojimbo is a fucking blast, and as a Mandalorian fan,
right,
you gotta watch if you haven't seen Yojimbo. Like it's so influential, and it's so good too. Like,
right.
But yeah, it's just interesting seeing like how he took Japanese cinema and Kurosawa and like transposed it into
just
like,
took samurai and cowboy and meshed them together. Man, I fucking love it. Goodfellas, 1990, Martin Scorsese. Probably some of the best writing I've ever fucking heard. A bunch of fucking Italians talking to each other.
Yeah.
Like just some shit talking, real shit going on. Just fucking Goodfellas all around is one of my fucking favorite movies ever. Guillermo del Toro's 2006 Pan's Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies as well, because it kind of dives into like a little bit of German, and you have to read some subtitles, and there's Spanish in it, and it's just fucking awesome. It has all the elements of everything you want in a movie. Mm-hmm. It has the costume work. It has the FX. It has the great writing. It has the horror part. It has everything in this movie. Pan's Labyrinth. If you haven't seen it, go see that. motherfucker. And then, that was my honorable mention. And then my 5 top directors, and again, for time, I'm just going to scroll right through these. Obviously, Tarantino, Kubrick, Lucas, Scorsese, and Guillermo del Toro, because they're all up in my top 5 movies.
That adds up.
Okay. Favorite actors: Christian Bale, Edward Norton, Jack Nicholson, I should say. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Samuel Jackson, Ewan McGregor. Favorite actresses.
Oh, I love the Ewan McGregor shout out. He's so good.
Fucking Ewan. Oh, the one on Apple TV you're talking about? Is that funny? What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I said I love Ewan McGregor. I love that shout out.
Oh, I thought you said I love that show.
No,
shout out.
no.
Ewan, I love fucking Ewan, dude. He just seems like a down to earth dude, man.
He's such a good actor. He's underappreciated.
Very underappreciated. Favorite actresses: Meryl Streep, Margot Robbie, Emma Stone, Nicole Kidman, Natalie Portman, and Jennifer Lawrence. My guilty pleasures are Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, wow.
Mean Girls. And
Mean Girls is great. Fast
and Furious Tokyo Drift.
I have a soft spot for Tokyo Drift just because I love Japan so much.
Dude, Tokyo Drift is it has to be probably my favorite Fast and the Furious movie. And I know it's like Fast and Furious FF10. And it's like, what the fuck is this shit about? It's so fucking corny. It's dumb now. It's like, I don't really get it.
I love the soundtrack for that movie. I used to jam to it. Tokyo Drift.
Oh, the ding, 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 ding,
if
ding,
you know
ding,
me.
ding, yeah.
If you know me. That's...
Yeah, I fucking love that shit, man. I love fucking Tokyo.
And I knew Han was so good, they just had to bring him back, even though they
bring him back to life, dude. Bring him back to life. One thing I just wanted to kind of touch on, because I have some favorite scenes in movies that are just like, I fucking love these movies, these scenes in these particular movies. They didn't make it to my top 5 or whatever, but these are some of my favorite scenes in movies. And one is Baby Driver. I don't know if you ever seen Baby Driver, but
I have. I won't get into my Edgar Wright stuff, but I've seen it.
But the opening scene of Baby Driver is like, that's shit is fucking awesome, because it's film. It's car chasing, it's music, it's all of that shit, man. And it's just that opening scene was fucking awesome. Also, in A Bronx Tale. If you haven't seen A Bronx Tale,
I don't think I've seen that.
Ooh, the door test. The door test is one of my favorite scenes. There's this kid who is the son of a Robert De Niro character. And I forget who Sonny plays, who the character Sonny, what the real guy's name is, but he is like, hey, the kid is asking Sonny, the older gangster, he's asking him, hey, I really love this girl, and I'm taking her out on a date. He goes, you know what? This is what you do. I'm gonna loan you my car. Hold on a second. You gonna loan me? You gonna loan me your car? You don't loan anybody your car. He goes, shut the fuck up. I'm gonna loan you my car. This is what you do. You give her the fucking door test. The door test? Yeah, the door test. And this is how you find out if she's one of the fucking greatest ones. This is how you do it. And you go over, you open the door like a fucking gentleman. You let her in, right? And this is back in the old days, like the 70s and whatever,
sure,
where you didn't have automatic doors. And he's like, you open the door like a gentleman, you let her in, you shut the door for her, and you walk through the back of the car, and you look through the back window of the car, and you look through there. If she doesn't lean her ass over and unlock that car for you, fucking dump her. Don't even think twice about it. Fucking dump her. He goes, dump her? Yeah, fucking dump her. She's not one of the fucking greatest. Just fucking dump her. And then a few scenes later, it's him picking her up. Hey, let me hold your hand. Let me take your coat. And he's being all gentlemanlike,
sure,
whatever. And then he opens up the car door for her and closes it just like he did. And then like the camera pans out from when he closes the door, and you see him, and it follows him as he goes back. And he looks through the rear view the window, and she leans over like in very slow motion. She's leaning over, and he's like, "Yeah, Then he opens the door and he gets it. He shuts the door and he's like, I knew you were the fucking one. And she goes, what do you mean? He's like, nothing. It's just something Sonny told me. I knew you were one of the fucking greatest. And it's one of my fucking favorite.
That's great.
Favorite fucking scenes of all fucking time. Like when you get a chance, I'll fucking, after we're done with this, we'll go through. And I'm not even going to turn this fucking light back on.
Yeah.
And then the last one, and then we're gonna end with you, and then this fucking podcast is over. Goodfellas. Tommy DeVito going into his. Am I funny? Am I fucking funny? And I'm not gonna go through it because you need to watch that. You need to watch that because it's like one of the most awesome fucking dialogue that goes on in the movie.
That scene's permeated culture enough that I'm aware of that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, Goodfellas is like I said on my show, I do movies that I haven't seen, and we've discussed you coming on the show, and that might be the movie we do. I will drop another bombshell though, and I'm sure you saw it on the list, but I've actually never seen Pan's Labyrinth either. So that would probably be Bronx Tale would be a really fun movie. That sounds like a really fun movie.
Bronx Tale is fucking awesome.
I'll have to add that to my list. That sounds great.
Well, dude, thank you. Thank you so much for coming and taking the time out of your busy day and busy weekend to come out and talk to me about some fucking bullshit that I have probably no business talking about. But, dude, tell us about your podcast, where you can find it, what the name of the podcast is, and then we're going to close this shit out.
Yeah, I'm really excited that you're having me on. I see you promoting your podcast a lot, and I was like, I should reach out to him to see if like we could do a show together because like, you know, we're same area. We all should like, you know, at this level, we should all be like helping each other and uniting and stuff.
For real.
I feel the same way about podcasts, same way about filmmaking. It's not a competition out here. It's like you talk to people, you find people you respect and like. You're like, have you worked with this actor before? Oh yeah, she's really cool. Like, I totally recommend her. You should use her for your stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just excited to be on the show. I have a podcast called Clear Tinted Classics. I'm pretty sure you can find it in most places that you get podcasts. It's on Spotify, Apple, whatever. I used Castbox and I couldn't find it on there, but then I searched my RS feed and it did pop up. And I was like, hey, I could finally listen to my own fucking show on the app that I use. I was uploading episodes to YouTube, but I've gotten lazy because I did like a cool waveform visual for it, but it takes like literally 4 hours to export. I will warn people, my show, when I have a guest, it goes fucking long because you can tell I talk a lot and we go for a while. But I cover movies generally that I've never seen before that are considered classics. Like the whole joke of the name of the show is like rose tinted glasses. Clear tinted classics is I'm watching. I have an opening. It's like what is up, everybody? Welcome to Clear Tinted Classics, the show where I, your host Jake Baker, watch classic movies for the very first time, nostalgia free. And that's the hook. Is like, is this movie actually good or not? Like the first episode I ever did was The Godfather. I had no preconceived anything going into it, so I get to watch it fresh and be like, is this movie as good as everyone says? Spoilers, it is. But The Godfather is fucking amazing. But yeah, I have a show called Clear Tinted Classics. I have a YouTube channel called Jake Ryan Baker, which I talked about before. Highly recommend. More than anything, than my stupid movie list videos, I would like people to watch my short films and just see. I'd like to get more views on them and people to watch them. Most of them are really short. They're like 4 to 5 minutes long.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like, I'm really proud of everything I've done. I'm proud of everybody I've been able to work with. And I just like, I like making short films. I'm hopefully going to make another feature soon-ish. We'll see. Things are weird right now. Thankfully, I have a really small crew, so I'm able to get like a couple people together and like shoot a thing here and there, and it's fine. But I'm literally editing 3 more short films right now that are going to go on the channel eventually when they're done. Post just takes me a long time. But, you know, there'll be more stuff. You can subscribe if you want. I don't actually, ever since I stopped posting my podcast on that channel, I don't really spam that much. So I'm not going to like ruin your feed, your subscription feed with that. But yeah, those are probably the best places. I'm Jake Baker San. Tipping my weeb card a little bit too much on Twitter. Right Jake on. Baker SAN.
Hell yeah, do it all, man.
Yeah, you can yell at me on Twitter. I always tell people like you can also be nice to me on Twitter too, but you know,
mostly yell.
Yeah, if people ever have like a hey, stop doing 3-hour podcasts so I can listen to your show, like that's where you can yell at me. But yeah, that's all my plugs. I appreciate you letting me plug.
Hell yeah, man. But you know what? Thank you so much, Jake, for coming on the Brews and Views podcast. This is all the time that we have here on the Brews and Views podcast. You guys have a great evening. Peace. Thanks for tuning in and listening to me ramble at lengths about things I have no business talking about. Download Brews and Views to your favorite devices at Apple Podcast and Spotify. This is Juan Cordero, the one and only, saying cheers. Until next time.